We have the privilege of talking once again with Rav Leib Tropper Shlita in our Yad Torah series. Rabbi Tropper, often we hear stories about Gedolei Torah, the maisim about episodes in their lives, impact of things that they did. Sometimes people place even more of an emphasis on those stories than on the Torah which they actually taught. Is there real merit in hearing these stories of Gedolei Torah, those of the past and those of the present?
But you know that I only feel comfortable sharing things that are sourced in sources that are beyond question. So we'll deal with that. We'll start with that first. And the first source that I know of, that I remembered learning in Pirkei Avos, was the Rambam in Perek Aleph, Perishim Mishnayos, and Mishnah Tezayin, that the Rambam says it's a very good idea. He says it's haratzui, which is something which is advisable. Is the person is yadibu haratzui, the speech that's advisable, a speech that talks about the merit and the importance and the significance of Gedolei Yisrael, in order to inspire people to follow their ways and to appreciate them, that we should inspire people to appreciate the Gedolim that we had. That's one. That's the source for the Rambam. There's also Rabbeinu Avram ben Rambam, who wrote the Sefer Maspik Lo'ived Hashem. He wrote a Sefer that is famous, is known as Maspik Lo'ived Hashem, which became popular later on. So in Shara Precious, he talks about it's you should pay attention to the stories that you read, and the stories about tzaddikim. And when you dedicate time during your day to read this Torah and these stories about Gedolei Yisrael, and you will try to sit down and think, what does that mean to you? He says, they'll open up the Shari Shemayim, Shari Rachamim for you, and all of a sudden there'll be a new light of Chochmah that will shine upon you, because you're dveikus with these tzaddikim, through intensely thinking about what those great stories that they did or that occurred to them means to you. There's more popular Mesilas Yesharim in Perek Chavtes, Perek Chavtes or Perek Chav, I'm not sure exactly, where he talks about, he says that the way of one achieving Chasidus, level of Chasidus which is beyond Tzidkis, beyond righteousness, is he says reading the stories of Gedolim helps inspiring us to again reach out and try to become greater. Now, I just want to make sure that we all understand, as before I continue further with some more sources, the Beis Halevi once commented, at least that so was quoted from the Beis Halevi comment, that when we say a story about a Rebbe or a Rosh Yeshiva or a Rav, there's no Birchas HaTorah in that story. Mm-hmm. When you say Tana Rabbanan, Ma'aseh Rabbi Akiva, so you have to write or make a Birchas HaTorah in that story, because the stories in Shas, Babel, Yishalmi, Mechilta, Sefri, Sefra, or in the Chumash and Nach, those are Torah, absolutely Torah. This is maybe even more than Torah, but you still make a Birchas HaTorah. Maybe inspiring to hold on to Yiddishkeit in a special way, maybe inspire you to go on to a madrega that you never would thought you'd be by hearing these stories. But it's not Torah. You can't make a Birchas HaTorah on the stories alone of the contemporary Gedolim or the last generation or the previous generation. From the Gemara on, we cannot make a Birchas HaTorah on the story of Rav Sadia Gaon. You can't make a Birchas HaTorah on that.
And what's the benefit? If it's not Torah...
No, it inspires you to bigger than Torah. It inspires us, for one, to do great things and become like those people who are towering scholars. Not just people who learn Torah, but towering scholars of Torah.
So the story would really only achieve its purpose if a person inculcated the message of the story and acted on it.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just mind candy.
Exactly. It's just an advanced and well-written Mother Goose story. If it's, Chas v'Shalom, and no story about a Gadol is a Mother Goose story, but it's to the benefit. In terms of benefit, it doesn't mean anything more than a story you read in a child's book. It doesn't read unless we take it and we internalize it and then we use it to grow.
Can you recommend or suggest or perhaps tell over even, Rabbi Tropper, a story that perhaps you yourself were influenced by or you think others may have been influenced by in terms of any of the...
I will in a moment, Peretz.
Okay.
I will do that. I think it's... but also now I want to go on and just quote a few more sources that are very, very definitive. And that's the Chassam Sofer in Chelik Vav. He talks, it says, L'saper b'shvach tzadikim mitzvah gedolah. He says it's a mitzvah gedolah to talk about stories about ma'asos of great tzadikim. I don't think we need more. I mean, the Chazon Ish also in Peretz, which I'm familiar with, Peretz in Chelik Beis also talked about the Chazon Ish used to go and talk about the importance of reading Sfarim about Gedolim Yisrael and the Ma'asim Tovim that they did. The Brisker Rav also, with his children, when he wanted to go in and tell them to talk to them, he told them stories of Gedolim Yisrael. So that's clear that it is important for us to share stories about tales of the Gedolim Yisrael that were of course true, and hopefully it's going to inspire the people of our Talmidim, our students, our family, our children. There are certain stories that people get inspired by, different ways. For example, I particularly was inspired by one of the stories of Rav Sheinberg, one story of Rav Tzvi Goldstein, that's how my Rabbi, and a story of Rav Moshe. Because they're real stories, that every part of it is real. It's so real that it doesn't have an imagination to it. You just have to, you don't have to believe it, but it's stories that my father told me. One story I saw, two stories I saw myself. Before they came out with the ban against smoking cigarettes, Rav Sheinberg, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, Moron Rav Sheinberg, Rosh Yeshiva of Torah, when you go to a chasana, he would do what the Shalach Kaddish said. What does the Shalach Kaddish say? Because a person is ma'orer chesed from the Eibishter only when he does chesed. The key to inspire, engender chesed from the Eibishter to us, that we should do chesed. If we don't, maybe Kadosh Baruch Hu will, maybe Kadosh Baruch Hu won't. But if we do chesed to others, then Kadosh Baruch Hu will definitely do chesed to us. So Rav Sheinberg, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, would go to a wedding, and they used to have these cups on every table, and in these cups were like 10 cigarettes. Some are Marlboro, some are Parliament, different kind of cigarettes. Again, remember, this is before they issued the warnings on the boxes about cigarettes. Just a havamina, it was just talk. So Sheinberg would collect those at the end of the chassan. He'd collect them, put them in his pocket. And then he would hear a bacha in yeshiva. He was walking to get a sefer. He heard a bacha in yeshiva say, "Jake, you have a cigarette?" Sheinberg said, "Oh, 1 second. Pull out a cigarette." He gave him the cigarette. It was extended to other things as well. He used to carry. One of Sheinberg used to carry with him like 3 or 4 pens. He let give me a pen. What is it? There he was, pulling out a pen out of his pocket. It was very inspiring for me that he thought about how to do chesed, but he thought about it in a way not to make a lot of noise, not a chesed which is going to be so much noise and shake the earth and have an earthquake reaction and people are going to talk about it. Lend a pen to somebody. He had lined up 4 pens in his pocket, and he lent a pen. He had cigarettes in his pocket. He give somebody a cigarette. So I used to wonder, why did he talk so much about chesed when I didn't see him do chesed until I saw the story. Quiet, still, in a fabulous way.
Rav Tzvi Goldstein?
My Rabbi Rav Tzvi Goldstein, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, my honor Rav Tzvi, was one of the liblings, one of the loved ones by Rav Moshe Feinstein. I see him one day. We had a Beis Medrash on 62nd Street and 60th Street in Bensonhurst. 1830 or 62nd Street, I think it was. There was a man, Mr. Fleischer, used to be there, and then there was people coming into the yeshiva group, and then they needed more rooms. They had to rearrange some of the Beis Medrash, and as a noshim had to be rearranged. It was a shul. need to be rearranged. So he got some people, non-Jews, to go and expand the Beis Medrash. So all of a sudden, at 12:30, 1 o'clock, right before lunch, I see Rabbi carrying in his hand, under his arm, a bottle of juice, and in his hand, two mazon, the TV meals, they call them, right? Television really. I'm bringing to these non-Jews, two non-Jews, bringing them. He said, "You're hungry, yeah?" And they laughed, and they took it, of course, they were thankful, and they gave him the juice to drink. And I said to myself, "Rabbanu Shalom, a person has to think about these things, be attentive to those things, to think at that time, when everybody else is eating, that he should eat also. He shouldn't feel left out, that everybody else is enjoying themselves with it. And that makes them even more hungry when they watch everybody else eat." And they were not Jews. But the mark of a Yid is chesed. Machmonim, Baishanim, and Gadol Chasadim. A Yid cannot escape that mark of chesed. And so with Moshe, I may have mentioned this before, but every time I mention it, I can still mention it again a number of times. But Moshe was full of chesed. The first story was, with Moshe, my father went to ask him a shayla in the Beis Medrash of Teresh Yerushalayim. My father was a Rebbe around the corner from Teresh Yerushalayim in a yeshiva called Rabbeinu Yaakov Yosef. My father taught Aleph Beis, and was known for his teaching them with patience. Aleph Beis. Nobody ever in 32 years had a Kriya problem, a reading problem when they left the first grade. I spoke to him once about it. It's another whole topic, why they didn't have any reading problem in his class ever, 32 years. One person who he apologized to for nudging was a fellow who unfortunately had dyslexia. My father had no idea what it meant at that time, dyslexia. Nobody had an idea what dyslexia meant, But it was only one. So anyway, he went to Ramosha to ask him for something, a question. He was online. There were 15 people before him waiting. And each question went. But he saw my father, and he knew my father. So he asked the first person. He said, "And Shuldik, is it okay if I asked Rabbi Tropper to come first? Because he has kids to teach at 9 o'clock, and now it's 5 to 9. I'm afraid he's going to miss it. I don't want to be late for the Talmidim." So it was baffling. Ramosha should make this cheshbon like I don't know, as quick as he writes a tshuva, or it's and as serious as it was a tshuva. And Allah l'maisa. So that was one story. There was another story of Ramosha. My father went to see him on a Sunday regarding a question pertaining to my sister. And we lived in Columbia Street, which is almost around the corner, a little further than around the corner, but it's pretty much around the corner from from our house. Ramosha's house was around the corner from us. And he was on FDR Drive, and Columbia was right around the corner from FDR Drive. So my father went. There was a terrible snowstorm. My father went trudging through the snow and going through it, and knocking on Ramosha's door. The Gadol Hador answers the door. The Gadol Hador answers the door. The Gadol Hador answers the door. No secretaries. Didn't have, people like today's government leaders have. None of those people. Moshe answered the door. Like when the person calls out in the Gemara on Shabbos about the bet with Hillel. Hillel. He was the prince of the whole Klal Yisrael, and they call him "Hey, Hillel boy," like Moshe himself, the Kvoidu V'atzmai, answers the door. So he answers the door. My father goes in and he says, "No, ask your shayla." My father asks his shayla. In the middle of the shayla, the Rebbitzin is yelling, "Moshe, who gazed there? Moshe, where you going, or Moshe?" So he says, "The chasana." They say, "Go right there." He talks right there with my father, and all of a sudden, again, after talking for a while, all of a sudden, the Rebbitzin says to Moshe, "Who gave this as Schnee in the house, and there's snow outside. It's coming down like mama, such heavy snow." He said, "You go to Chasa, nobody's going to be there." Before she finished saying that, Moshe said, "Well, if nobody's going to be there, for sure I have to go." And then, of course, what's Kavachem? I have to go. What's the question? So you can learn from the story. Sipur, Moshe is great. But that's not necessarily what I want to say. I want to say how important it is to Misamech Chas and Hakala. And you just imagine, close your eyes and imagine what it was like for the chassan when nobody showed up, but the Gedolim Past walked into the room to come to his chassan Yom Simcha. And Rabbi Feinstein told me that they did go. They actually drove to the subway, because they couldn't drive to where the chassan was in Brooklyn. Drove to the subway, and the car got stuck, so they went by subway. And Moshe was determined to do it, and he felt that that would make the whole person, So that's what a gadol is, and what a gadol thinks about. What will make another person happy? So Ramesh himself would read often. He would read, say, from Oiris HaGedolim from Rav Zaychik, because I remember him from Yisrael. Rav Zaychik was a yeshiva Beis Yosef in Yerushalayim, Navarik in Yerushalayim. He wrote a sefer called Oiris HaGedolim. It's called. You get inspired by the stories of the Balei Musa. It was actually stories of mostly Balei Musa. But there are many other such stories from Gedolim Yisrael that, Rabbi Akiva Eiger was sent a kvittel to daven for a sick young lady. Her name was Leah Bas Rivka. She was davening and she wasn't getting better. He told Rabbi Akiva Eiger that this woman wasn't getting better. He said, he wrote back a letter to them. You're telling me she's not getting better. Listen to me. Hispalalti, I davened, v'loine enesi, and I wasn't answered. It wasn't just that it just continued being sick. Mm-hmm. He says, Tolos b'shem, he says, mistake in the name. Mikveg was so sure about his koyach hatfilah that would answer me, he should answer it. That he says, Tolos b'shem. So they found out that instead of Leah Bas Rivka, it was Rivka Bas Leah. He davened that she got better. But that's what's on his mind. He can't sleep, he can't move, he has to correct that name, he has to take care of it. Rivka Bas Leah has to get better. If Leah Bas Rivka can't get better, then Rivka Bas Leah has to get better. There are so many of these. We could ask ourselves, how many times do we say Tehillim? Stop in the middle of the day and say, you know what? I have a friend who's having a hard time. A hard time in life about something, finding a job, suffering some humiliation. He's not well. His parents are not well. His child's not well. How many times a week we say so that we initiate on our own? Okay, I'm going to say Tehillim for my friend. We only say Tehillim for something like a real tragic thing. It's going to be got hit by a car. Say Tehillim. What about Stam saying Tehillim one capital a day for somebody you know who doesn't have parnasa, somebody who doesn't have Ishdel, whatever it may be. It would be very, very such a healthy and more deeper Yiddishkeit. I said to you before that in Chesed, the Eibishter, it's a reciprocal reaction, reciprocal virtue. The Eibishter gives that virtue of Chesed, or does that virtue of Chesed when people do Chesed. So it's all reciprocal. Chesed is reciprocal. That's what the Gedolim Yisrael tell us. The Shalach HaKodesh suggests to us, and we should adhere to his words. You can trust the Shalach HaKodesh. I'm sure you trust him if he told you what bracha to make on white fish. So you could trust him to help you get more chesed, earn more chesed points in your life. Shalach HaKodesh suggests that everybody does a chesed one time a day. Search for what kind of a chesed could you do one time a day. Now, there were very big chasadim people did with Bikur Cholim, visiting sick. The whole idea of Bikur Cholim is to help the person, and I think the famous Shittik Betis in the Dharm Lamed Vav talks about that even an Adam Gadol B'Torah, who's Baki B'Shas and Sifri, Sifra Mechilta, and Yishalmi and everything, is a mitzvah for him to go and visit somebody who's a regular Pashat Yid. Don't say it's pasnish, send him regards. I'll send him regards with somebody, a piece of paper. Pastor, he should go in Mabaka Chayla, such a person. Right? That would change a lot of people's perspective. If a Talmud saw his Rebbe, he's a Gedolim Gadol, go to see Bakachila. A Yid, somebody who's called a Yid. Wow, what a change it would make. I want to tell you that there's a very interesting word from the Visions Rebbe. This is about things that we talk about, speech. He used to say that a person's dibur establishes who he is. You can identify a person by what he says. It's also Gemara Kedushin, but more specifically, it says this point that by what the person says and how he says it, and the edelkeit how he says something, is koveya, establishes who this person is.
That's the Imrei Chaim?
Imrei Chaim Zatzal, Chossi Yogan Aleinu, right. Say this. On a different topic again, but it's on Dibur. All the time. He asked, once he asked, why do people have an appetite to hear, to speak Lashon Hara about licentious things with other people? It happened, something that wasn't, not sneezing thing. Why do people have that Lashon Hara to listen, to hear? He says, I'm just going to read you what he says. Why does a person have this propensity to hear about his friend? He is not careful with kedusha tznius. It's easy for him to hear that his friend was engaged in licentious activity, which is illegal and Torah, immoral, than for him to hear that his friend was a murderer. That's not a murderer. My friend is murdering. Can't. Why? This is frightening. Chaim Zalman says, Kiteva Odom, the nature of a person is Mashu Atzmei Nichshal, when he himself is Nichshal, he himself violates Maimin Shechavera Nichshal Yeser. He looks at his friend and says, he probably did more than I did. It's very strong words. It's a self-indictment. He's saying it's a self-indictment when a person talks about other people's licentious violations that they had. That's more than other kinds of violations of Lashon. Talk about it, or tzayach, or he said ganav, or he said this, or he said that. And why does the person speak about that? Because it's a self-criticism. It's a
justification.
Justification, even perhaps, by saying it's my friend. And they're not me. So, I think that we heard quite enough today for today. Just the introduction. It's really introduction. We're going to continue on this for a few weeks. Maybe next week or the week after, I'm not sure, but next time. Other medias that we could talk about, that like savlonas, like tolerance, and understanding what it means to have tolerance. It doesn't mean you have to accept everything wrong in the world. Tolerance is a virtue of people sometimes without convictions. It has to be a virtue of people despite convictions. It can't be a virtue of people. It shouldn't be a substituting for conviction. Oh, everything's okay with me. Everything's okay. It's all right. Everything's all right. That's what George Orwell wrote. He says tolerance sometimes is a virtue of people without conviction. They don't have no conviction. They say, everything's fine. Everything's good. Tolerance should be. But even though I know he has weaknesses, infirmities, spiritual, I'm going to tolerate. We should want to have savlanas, mahurachum, fatarachum. We should be the best thing we could do in life is to be daimeh. We can emulate the midos of Shalach Kadir Baruch Hu. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Rabbi Leib Tropper. But I just want to ask you one more thing. In other words, what we're talking about will continue, Be'ez Hashem. Stories are not just things that we tell our children, but in essence, we should be telling ourselves.
Absolutely. But we said even our children could have a benefit from stories. They're not always so advanced, these stories, that they have to have only a benefit for ourselves. The first benefit is yourself. But from that will drip some benefit. It will bleed into the children to hear these stories, if they can comprehend them, if you can allow them to comprehend it, and then they can also grow from it tremendously.
Be'ez Hashem, the story and stories will continue. Bez Hashem in our next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.